All right, so I am excited about this video today. I have a very, very, very special guest. I didn't have to twist his arm too much to come on this to do this video with me, but I really want you guys to hear his perspective of how all this went down. So we're going to start with the beginning.
So, wow, what was it like in the beginning? Well, at first, everything was all good. I mean, everything was good until it wasn't. We had bought this house. We had built this house. We had rented out our two original homes. And we had bought an investment property. And we were actually looking to buy again, if you remember. And everything was going well until we got a letter in the mail one day. And it basically said that all of our mortgages would adjust. And so, I did the math and figured out that, our mortgage payments for everything was about to go up $1,000 a month. And we couldn't afford that. And that is when things started to set in that we were just out of control, that the debt had just reached a place where it wasn't sustainable anymore.
And we weren't making that kind of money.
No, we weren't. I mean, the houses were rented and everything felt good. But this was a reality check that something was wrong, and immediately it forced us, if you remember, to stop pursuing that other purchase of that rental home that we were about to buy, and
which was out of state.
Yeah, it was out of state. And so it forced a change, and that was the beginning of the reality check, which led to the rectification of our debt issue.
Yes. And so, in looking at that, what was that? It's something that you always say. You've always shared when we talked about this, and that is, you felt like you were going to be working for the rest of your life to get out of all this debt we had accumulated.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, and it's true because we had 40-year mortgages, and at the time we were late 20s, I believe. Late 20s, early 30s.
Don't be telling my age on my videos.
Well, you're 25 now, but so we had 40-year mortgages, and we're still relatively young. And I remember my whole thought was, Lord, I got us into this. Just keep me healthy.
I agreed.
For another 40 years to pay off this mortgage. And that was my mindset. My mindset was it was going to take 40 years to do it.
Pause right there.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make a point here is that our first thought wasn't, let's just walk away. Let's go into default. Let's do the things that the banks were telling other people who were in our situation they had to do in order to get help. That wasn't our plan when we bought these properties, or to walk away from them. It was to buy them, to keep them, and to use them as part of our retirement plan. So never once did we think, we just walk away and start over. Let it be someone else's problem. Okay, carry on.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We had gotten ourselves into this hole, and we were determined we were going to dig ourselves out. And with the mortgages being our biggest debt, it was going to take 40 years ish. And so that was my prayer: is Lord, just help us, keep me healthy, Lord, long enough to fulfill our obligations. We wanted to hold on to them and pay them off.
Yeah, and now I don't remember refinancing was an option because our debt to income ratio was through the roof.
Yeah, the debt income ratio was through the roof, and we had multiple lenders, and everybody was playing the blame game, like, go to the other lender and go get something done with the other lender, and it was back and forth, and nobody could agree. And I don't know if you remember this, but we also paid someone to actually help us keep the properties. But that didn't work out. I mean, so we did what we could. I don't know what we could have done differently. We were advised, so we did seek wisdom on how to proceed. And
all of the advice that we got wasn't necessarily wisdom. It was just, again, some of it was, like, do this to get out of it, or do this and then they'll help you, or miss so many payments and then we can talk. That was not what we chose to do. So we paid it for as long as we could, and then when we couldn't no more, that's when we stopped. because it's like we don't have nothing else to give. And then the foreclosures commenced.
Yes. Then the foreclosures commenced.
Okay, so we knew we had to do something. Like, we didn't know what it was, so we started just trying to tackle this debt the best way we knew how. You started creating these spreadsheets, and we had, he loves spreadsheets. We listed, just everybody that we owed. And we were like, okay, we start getting, what do you call those? Not cash advances, but how you open one credit card, and when you open one credit card, you can transfer all the balances to that, so that you're now paying on a zero balance for however long, because it's a new account that you open. We was trying our best to breathe and to get some kind of relief, to start trying to figure out how to pay the stuff off. And then we got a call. We got a call from Yusef. Shout out to Dr. Yusef King, Alfred's cousin, who sent us the Financial Peace, Total Money Makeover book that he started reading, and then the work began. So tell the people about the book, how the book impacted you.
The book impacted me, I think, in one of the ways it was timely, right? Because it was an answer to a prayer. When you're searching and sometimes it feels like God's silent. Sometimes his answer is it shows up not audibly, but it shows up in a way that you may not be expecting, but it fits your situation, it fits your prayer. And so when the book showed up, I looked at it as a timely message from God, because it fit what we were asking for. We were in a ton of debt and we were trying to get out. And this man had wrote this book about basically how to get out of debt. So it seemed to fit. And I read it in like 3 days. And I'm not generally, I usually don't read that fast, but I read that book in like 3 days, and it was like, man, this is on point. It's on time. So that's how I knew it was a thing from God. And
when we got the book, I suddenly remembered a friend of mine who I talked about this in my first video, who had sent me a link to Financial Peace University, because they took the course when they were living in Arizona, and they thought it was, a good course, and they sent it to me, and I just kind of brushed it off. This was about a year before God spoke again and getting this book in our hands. And then while when you finished the book, that's when we got the call from some close friends here in town that wanted to share with us the Financial Peace course. And again, we had no idea that that's what they were calling us over to their home to talk about, because we wanted to share with them the book, and they wanted to share with us the course.
I was all aboard, but somebody didn't want to do it. I'm not going to call anybody out, but
I wanted to do it.
You did, but you didn't want to do it.
I just didn't want to do it in the group.
Yes, yeah, because it was another time commitment.
It was another time commitment.
Yes, well, sometimes deliverance ain't convenient, and
you say that again, Deacon. Deliverance ain't convenient all the time. All right.
Yeah. But you did see the value in it.
Yes.
You did see the value in it from the get-go. And
value.
And that allowed us to jump in and take the course. And from there we just steamrolled.
And we worked it.
Yes, we did.
We worked it.
Yes, we did. And we had already started
something.
We had already started paying off our debt, but we didn't have a structured plan, I would say. We had ideas and, how to do stuff. But Financial Peace definitely put it all together, and not just gave us a roadmap, but also gave us reasoning on the road. Why are we doing this the way, he's instructing us to do this?
I'm glad you said that. We were doing it, and we were so drawn to this method because it was biblical.
Yes.
And we knew that what we learned, we didn't know this, but what we learned in going through the process is that we were not good stewards. We're tithers. We've been tithers before we met, before we got married, and we've continued, since then, thank God. But we were not good stewards. We were horrible with managing the rest of the income, the increase that we had. And through this process, we learn how to be better stewards. We're still learning. We're still, we still budget. We still don't borrow money. But it forces us to be better stewards and only to spend when it's necessary.
Yeah, sometimes in the Christian circles, the word stewardship and tithing is used synonymously, and that's wrong. It's because it's incomplete. So it's an incomplete definition of stewardship to relegate it down to just tithing, because the tithe you don't keep. The stewardship part is the part you do keep. And so if you tithe, that just means you're not stealing from God, but you still should manage the other 90%. And so that's what we weren't doing well.
What we were stealing from ourselves.
Yes.
Because we were pouring money into debt, paying for things that I won't say we didn't need them all. Like, we need a house, right? We need to live somewhere. But we couldn't live in 4. And we had 4 and we couldn't afford them. And we were only living in 1. But yeah, that stewardship that began our understanding of what real stewardship is.
Absolutely. And it had to be taught to us. And I'm glad that we were able to we were wise enough to receive instruction, because that's not always the case. Sometimes we reject wise instruction, and the Bible gives us plenty of warnings about that, how that's what fools do.
We was acting foolish. Anyway.
Yes, there was a whole lot of foolery.
Moving on. So we went through going through Financial Peace. And the very day before the year ended, as I've shared already, we started facilitating this class for others because it was so amazing. It had done so much for us. It had taught us so much, and we wanted to share it. So what do? We had some friends. We had a small group here at our house, and we went through Financial Peace that very same year. And this is 2012 when we did this. When we took the class early 2012.
Yes.
And we started facilitating the class with our friends toward in the fall.
Yeah, because
remember 2012.
I remember the last part of it was right around Christmas time.
Yes, I talked about that and how it kind of had our friends proceed with caution on how much money they were planning to spend during the Christmas holidays. I don't know if it helped, but that was our intent, was to plant this seed so that they would, spend wisely as the holiday season approached. So what do you think about that? Like, because we still do that. We're actually getting ready to start tomorrow. By the time you see this video today, which will be tomorrow because today is not tomorrow. We're starting our first week of our next round of Financial Peace University. And in case we weren't clear, Financial Peace University, it's called FPU. It was the course that went along with the book that we read about, the Dave Ramsey's baby steps on getting out of debt and building wealth. So we started with facilitating the class in our home. From there, we did it a few sessions at our church. And then from there, since 2019, we've been facilitating it with military families that we work with. So what do you think about that? What are your thoughts around being a FPU coordinator all this time?
I think, the Bible says that, and all things work together for the good. And we always take that to mean that everything that we do will turn out good, but that's not what it says. What it's saying is that everything you will do, God will make its purpose good. And so our financial failure in that season of our life has really turned out to be a financial blessing, because we've been able to facilitate these FPU courses. And we've been able to, tell that we have done all the stupid things and we have done all the wrong things. and we've done all these things, and we are living examples of how we can recover, and and how God can recover you and rebuild you and reconstruct you. We get to be living examples of that. And is it fun? It's fun teaching it, but it wasn't fun going through it. But if we didn't go through it, we wouldn't have the testimony to share. And so God has made it for the good of ourselves and for others. So yeah, I definitely think it's a blessing to be able to, and I think it's good stewardship. When you have something to share and you don't share it, the Bible tells you that you rob your brothers and sisters of him, because he's the one that did the work. So you can't keep it shut up in your bones. Let it out.
Let it out. What is something that you have overcome that you know can help somebody, and you, for whatever reason, haven't shared it? You see them struggling. You see them going through or beginning to make some of the same mistakes that you made in a specific area, and you know that you have some help, right? And I know people may not always be receptive, but you can still try. You can still try. And one thing that we learned going through this process in facilitating FPU, one thing with FPU, we volunteer to do that. We don't get paid to do that, but we give our time to help lead families who want to go through this. But the one thing that they have to do is they have to invest in themselves. The course is not free. It's just not. But for the value that you get for such a little cost to change your entire life, you'd be surprised how hard it is to get people to invest in themselves.
Yeah, I think sometimes when it comes to when you speak about investing into yourself, people don't exactly understand what that means.
What does that mean?
It means, what are you willing to put forth to make yourself better to get to where you need to go? And some people, everybody doesn't see that as a linear process. And it may not be a linear process. Everybody can't draw the lines in logic from one place to the other. Sometimes it's convoluted. Sometimes it's just not clear. But I can tell you this: there is no better investment you can make outside of investing into God is investing into yourself. That's the way he built it. When I say he, I mean God. That's the way God constructed this earth and community, is you invest in yourself. And as you grow, not only does your testimony grow as with us, but also our testimony grows. And so now that speaks to other people. So other people become blessed by you investing in yourself. So by you not investing in yourself, you are robbing me of the God in you.
I'm just going to say amen. And take this opportunity to also plug in myself as a financial coach. No, seriously. This was, going through this process and understanding how much it has helped me, and how much having a partner to walk through this with. I know that you don't always have someone who is willing to admit, like, we're in trouble, right? And then help lay out a plan to get out. And so we weren't struggling in an area where one of us saw this debt and wanted to get out, and one of us was like, no, we good. We did this as a team. And
it's so much easier.
It's so much easier. So what I decided to do from all this is, like, I want to help more people. I do. That is my heart's desire, and I believe that's what God has called me to do in this particular season in my life. And so I went and I invested in myself, and I got certified to be a financial coach. I took some additional training on how to just build systems and programs that I'm currently working on. I know I keep saying that, but I'm really, really working on it. Am I working on it?
Yes, you are.
I'm working on it. He will not lie for me. Trust. He will not. I am working on it. But in this process, with me sharing and on YouTube and sharing on Facebook in the beginning, I'm building a coaching business, and I have 2 amazing clients that I'm working with right now, and I cannot wait for you all to hear their testimonies coming up soon. So now we're to the part where y'all heard me say this was my most favorite part of the story to tell, and it was the miracle that we received during this season in our lives when we realized we were in a lot of debt and needed to get out, and it was like, what we gonna do? Guess what? A miracle landed literally on our front door.
I remember it. I remember it very clearly. I remember we were getting ready to leave, actually, and I checked the front porch, and we had this envelope. You know, you open up the envelope, and it had papers, and it seemed legit. I mean, but yeah.
They called us because that's how we found out that it was an envelope there, because we don't check the front door.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
mail.
Yeah.
We weren't getting Amazon packages back then.
Yeah.
So we didn't check it very often.
Yeah. When we got the papers, we opened them up, and one of the things you can always tell if something's a scam or not is if they are asking for information versus if they're giving you information. For instance, if you open up something and it has your social security number and your address, then chances are it's legit. And so when I remember reading the paperwork, it still didn't seem like it was. It seemed like it was too good to be true.
It did.
And so what we did, I don't know if you know this, but remember what we did is we actually found a name on the paperwork and did a Google search and found the connection to that person.
I don't remember that. You did that.
Well, one thing I did, to make sure this was to make sure this was real, is I found somebody's name on the paperwork and did a Google search, and actually went to the bank's website and tried to find my way to that person, and was able to verify that this person who sent us this was actually a real person, and then talk to them or talk to their department and find out this was a legitimate offer that they were making us.
Yeah, and another thing when I think about that, what made it seem like it wasn't real is because there wasn't a lot of papers, right? It was kind of like a summary of if you're getting a loan modification, it's not a new loan, but you're making a modification, you're making a lot of changes. And it just didn't seem like it was enough. It was maybe 5 pages in there, and it kind of summarized what we had and what they were offering us, and a time of when we needed to get the acceptance signed back to them. It was just like you said, it looked too good to be true. So we did our research.
We did our best to vet it, and wow.
We did not allow that miracle to be wasted, because that's exactly what it was. They weren't just handing out loan modifications.
No.
Especially if you didn't apply for them. Like, the loan we had been sold to, who was it? Chase. Because I think it was Countrywide or Washington Mutual, one of the two that had our loan. And that was the last time we applied for a modification. Then all of a sudden we was paying Chase.
And we were denied, We were denied for that modification.
Denied every time, for several. We were denied for modifications. On this house, we were denied for short sales and trying to use the processes that they had in place for us to sell the rental properties that we had, which never happened because they wouldn't help us, and they ended up being foreclosed. All 3 of them.
Yeah, we lost all of our investment properties, but we were still plugging away with the debt on this house and the other debt. The consumer
17 credit cards.
Yeah, the consumer debt. So we were paying that down, and we were doing a good job. We were making good progress. We had gone through financial peace. We had a plan. You could see the progress, and I still had that prayer. It's like, Lord, to keep me healthy for another 40 years so we can pay this loan, so we can pay this house off. And then we got that bond.
He did it.
Yeah, God did it. And one of the things that it showed me is that you always don't see God working. That doesn't mean he's not working. And you always hear in church, suddenly God is a God of suddenly, and He is. But He's also a God of process and a God of time, and we don't know His process and we don't know His time. So you just have to work in wisdom and wait for His sovereign miracle. If He decides to give you one to come through, He doesn't tell you. He didn't telegraph us that.
And then let's talk about that in this segment. Is that even though we received that miracle, and I've shared this already, that we still had work to do.
Oh, absolutely.
He could have wiped all that. And just to clarify, that modification, it forgave quite a bit of our mortgage debt, and we still had some to pay off, and we still had those credit cards and things to pay off, but we still had to put the work in, and the work is what I believe solidified in us that we're not going back. We have worked too hard. God has blessed us with a miracle, and it won't be wasted on us. And we're not going backwards. Like, we're gonna finish this thing, and we're gonna be able to tell the story afterwards, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah. It was a 40-year mortgage, and what the bank did is we had been in the house for 5 years, so down to a 35-year mortgage, and then the bank took off the last 25 years of the mortgage, and then they credited us the time we had already been in here onto the mortgage. So it took a 40-year mortgage just with the signing of papers down to 10, I think. Yeah, down to a 10-year mortgage, just with signatures, just like that.
Just like
All that debt forgiven. It was hundreds of thousands of dollars forgiven that we would
I
never
didn't tell
have to
them
pay.
all our business. I didn't tell them all the numbers.
Well, no. Yeah.
It's out there now.
Yeah.
But God did it, y'all.
He did it.
And He did it for us. We know He can do it for others. Is He going to do it the exact same way?
I don't know.
I don't know. But what we're here to tell you is that He's able.
He's able. He's got to be willing to work.
Willing to put in the work.